Today we're making rice. First step, wash your rice. Pour water in it and do this with your fingies. It's really satisfying. And then strain it out into a strainer. Do it until the water runs about clear, about 3 times. And you're good. All right, so for this rice, we're going to start with some vegetables. And then we're gonna season it. This is everything we're gonna need. We have jasmine rice here. It's a long grain rice. It's pretty standard. It's nice. You probably had it before and maybe didn't even notice. We're gonna add to that some stock. This is better than bouillon chicken base and some water, but you mix it to make some, well, not stock, I guess. Broth. But you can do it out of the box. You can make your own. It's whatever. I have a small chili. It could be any kind of chili. You also don't have to. I have these little Sazón Goya things that make really great Mexican rice, which is what we're making today. I guess sort of a Mexican rice. We have a poblano. I'm only going to use half of it, and then we're going to use some onion here. Let's get this slightly preheated, because what we're going to do is we are going to just half this pepper. I don't know, not that much onion, maybe more. This is essentially rice base for every rice ever. You don't have to put these ingredients in here, but if you know how to make this rice, you'll know how to make any of the rices. This is technically like a pilaf style because we're going to toast the rice, but that's not so bad. Toasting the rice gives it much more flavor. It'll give it a better texture. The fat will coat it, you'll see. So just process your peppers. And we'll do the same thing to the onion. Maybe a little bit more onion than I have. Ooh, let's do a clove of garlic too while we're here. You can make rice out of just sort of anything, man. It takes on flavors, obviously. And I find that I grew up in the Midwest, and I'm a white guy, so I haven't like been exposed to a lot of rice growing up. It was mostly like potatoes as far as the starch is concerned. So I've actually been a recent rice enjoyer, and it's been really nice. This is how you make it real good. Get a little garlic action in there. Just dice it up roughly. You can see I'm not being very like particular about the cut on this. It's just rice. If you want to be particular, you can, but they're roughly even size, which is all that matters. All right, a little oil. We'll let that start getting a little happy. And then we're gonna put our veg in. All right, we're gonna hit this with a little salt. I'm gonna draw some moisture out and season it. And then we're gonna toss this in the oil. So now we just cook these until they're translucent and starting to be a little fragrant, and then we're gonna put the garlic in. So when we do rice, the basics are wash your rice, add your aromatics. These are aromatics. These add flavor and color contrast, and obviously aromatics, they smell, making everything much more fragrant. Then we toast the rice into the aromatics, then we boil it. It's very easy. Rice is something you should have in your bag just because it's cheap and easy. It takes a little bit of getting used to, like the first couple times you make rice. But if you haven't made rice, you might think you need like a rice cooker for it. No. This is it's gonna be perfect every single time if you do it this way. Trust! You don't need a rice cooker to make delicious rice. Though, a rice cooker is nice to have if you make rice constantly, specifically like steamed rice. You could also do this in an Instant Pot. It has a saute setting on those. I have one in my cabinet, I just never use it. I only use it when I take food places, like to my mom's house for the holidays or something. All right, these are cooked down a little bit. We're gonna add the garlic, and we're gonna add that chili. So we're gonna take the chili, just crack it in half, toss it in there, add a little heat, aroma and flavor. Garlic right in there for like 30 seconds. Rice comes together pretty quick, man. It really doesn't take a lot. So a clove of garlic. Get everything nice and toasty. Garlic only has to cook in this setting for like 30 seconds to a minute. Really not long. Everything nice and toasty. You'll be able to smell the garlic in the air. It'll get really fragrant really fast, but you can also see it. You don't want it to start to brown up or anything, because it'll start to get a little bit bitter. Though a little bit won't hurt. It's time for rice. Put all the rice on top of this, right on top of your aromatics, the oil, the hot heat. Perfect. All right. So first we toss this around so it gets coated in the oil. We want to toast this rice and make sure that each granule is covered with a little bit of that olive oil, the fat from in there. There we go. All right. This is essential. This will make it toasty and delicious. You start smelling it. It'll start to smell maybe a little popcorny, a little nutty as this cooks a little bit. So we're gonna let this toast for just I don't know, a couple minutes. Might as well prepare our broth. I don't know what this is. I'm just gonna put some in here, about a tablespoon or so, a little bit less. This is all it takes. I love Better Than Bouillon. It's really handy to have around, especially if you don't make chicken stock constantly. You can also add a little gelatin to this in other preparations to make a very classic stock. But for this, we wouldn't do that. Tossing this around more. You can see we're starting to get a little color on stuff. All right. So that's tossed. What we also want to do is toast the spices. So this is just a Sazon de Goya. You don't have to use this. It has coriander, annatto, which is a nice spice that is often in Mexican stuff. It has cumin. It has like white pepper. It might have some adobo stuff going on there. Some salt, some MSG. It's good. You can find it. It makes it just Mexican rice. It tastes like Mexican rice. It's good. I'm only using this because I have some. Otherwise, I'd grind my own. But either way, it's good. Whatever, if you're making Mexican rice like I am right now, then I would suggest it. But it gives it a beautiful color. Keep tossing it around. Look at this. And it's only going to get better when we add the broth and steam this. We're letting this toast. You see, I'm not like worried about it. Toast isn't, or the toast. I'm not worried about it. The rice isn't going to burn or anything. So just take your time. You can hear it. You don't want to let it just sit here, obviously, but and when it's nice and incorporated, we're going to let it sit for just a little bit longer before we put this in. The cilantro is going to be reserved for the end. When I fluff the rice, I'll add it in. I may also add in some green onions or something, depending on how it looks. Maybe on top, I don't know. But this is rice. It's almost over. This is about done active time. All we have left to do is 2 more steps. Add the broth and wait. Well, really, it's like 3 or 4 steps. We'll go through them now. All right, here we go. So we're gonna add the broth. So for jasmine rice, it's 1 cup of rice to 1.5 cups of liquid. It could be anything. You could do beef broth, you could do water, you could do any sort of delicious thing you want your rice to soak up the flavor of. Any sort of liquid. So here's what's gonna happen. We need to get this to a boil. We're gonna cover it, get it to a boil, and then we're gonna bring it down to a bare simmer. Covered. Let this come up in heat. And then so it's like it was at a 6. I brought it up to like an 8 so it can bring the heat up. When this gets to a nice rolling boil, we're gonna take it down to a 2. Or whatever setting is roughly a 2 on yours. Just enough to keep it simmering. And we're going to leave it simmer for 15 minutes. We're not going to touch it. This lid doesn't come off now. I like to use a clear lid so I can see what's going on. But, you know, if you don't have one, You're just gonna have to trust the process. I swear it's not gonna mess up if you just trust the process, okay? The first time you make this, you're gonna feel like, am I waiting too long? You're not. I promise it's gonna be okay. You're gonna do a great job. All right, so you see how it's kind of boiling like this? You can see the spots where the air is coming up. All right, we're gonna take it down to a 2. We are going to set a timer for 15 minutes and walk away. This doesn't get touched, okay? At the end of this 15 minutes, we're taking it off the heat and letting it sit for 20 more minutes. Don't touch it. Don't remove the lid. Just move it off the heat. All right, ready? Walk away for 15 minutes. We'll be back. All right, the alarm has gone off. It's been 15 minutes. Literally just take it off the heat. 20 more minutes. 20 minutes. Don't touch it. No lid. The lid stays on. It steams. It's gotta get good. Promise. Walk away from it. All right, the rice is done. It's time. Look at it. It's still steamy. We're gonna take a fork and fluff it. Individual grains, fluffy. Wow. All right. Looks great. Taste it. Yeah, it's seasoned. We're gonna take half of, I have some cilantro here. About half of the cilantro. Just some of the green onions I have in here. We're gonna have some of them for the top. Some of them are mixed in. All right. Mixing in fresh herbs at the end is always a delicious addition to your rice. Okay. We'll plate it up. Here you go. We'll sprinkle the top. All right, so that's rice. We'll eat some. Perfectly seasoned. A little heat from this chili, but not like a lot. Just sort of a background radiation. You got fresh herbs. Well seasoned. The rice, like each of these kernels is a little toasted, is covered with like a nice little bit of fat and seasoning. So they're all individual and fluffy. This is the best. Yeah, so you can make rice like this in many different ways. You'll probably see me make it in a similar technique, but with different stuff in it many times in the future. So that's basic rice. You can make it in a myriad of ways. You don't have to put these seasonings in. Delicious every time. Rice done.